All right, good evening, Messiah University. Hello. All right, my name is Paul Callender. I'm going to be moderating for tonight. Yes, let's go ahead and start off by introducing our candidates for tonight. So we've got right here at this table. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Cody Ford. I'm a junior at Messiah, and I am running for student body president.
Hi, my name is Judy Chefoku, and I'm a junior at Messiah, and I'm running for vice president.
Hi everyone, Hi. I'm Pauline. I'm also a junior at Messiah, and I'm running for student body president.
Hello, my name is Mirelis Bermudez, and I am running for vice president, and I am a first year.
Alrighty, so there are your candidates for tonight. Just a reminder, just keep in mind, vote your conscience, listen to what people have to say tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started here with introductions. Judy and Cody, can you guys go and introduce yourselves, give us kind of an idea of your campaign? You'll have about 1 minute to kind of go over that.
Yeah, so what Judy and I are running on is this idea of together. Together within SGA as an organization, being able to support our clubs and organizations well through fiscal responsibility, providing support to organizations on all levels, from executive, chartered, to recognize clubs on campus, and also in that sense providing togetherness as allowing all students on campus, regardless of the community that they fit in or who they identify or whatever they do, whatever makes them unique, giving them a voice on campus, allowing them to be accessible to Judy and I as SGA, but also just broader to the university, be it the administration or the institutional processes that go on within it. Yeah, that's everything.
All right, Pauline, go ahead.
So if you guys have seen our posters around, our main theme word is reconcile, with the values of equality, community, and collaboration. Our main goal for our platform is to just continue the reconciliation theme of this year and not let it be bound to 2021, 2022, but really push towards a lifelong commitment to reconciliation. And what that looks like is hearing from different student groups that we might not be a part of and listening to what they need as support and trying to make it happen for them.
And I think to add to that, our idea of reconciliation does not only pertain to one matter on campus, not just about race. I think what our main emphasis is to hit everybody on this campus, not just one group. We're here for everybody.
So, the main idea of our campaign is this idea of connection. And that can be connection between students within the student body, and that can also be connection between the student body and the administration. So what we've noticed is, partially as a result of COVID, but also as a result of culture on campus, a lot of students are feeling lonely, disconnected, as if they can't break into friend groups, things like that. And we want to help facilitate a greater connection between students. We also want to facilitate a greater connection between the student body and the student, not the student administration, but the government administration. God, I can speak. The Messiah administration, by giving students more of a voice in how things are run at Messiah. So I think that's it.
Well, there we go. Those are your candidates for tonight. So let's go ahead and break into what we came here for. So let's start with questions here. We'll just go left to right for this first round. We'll switch it up so we give people equal opportunity to start off first. So Sam, Mason, you guys can go ahead and start off here with this question. Besides COVID, what do you think the source of disconnect between students and administration is, and how do you plan to address that?
So probably one of the biggest sources of disconnect is students feeling left out from how the government operates at Messiah. From my experience, I didn't even know that there was a student senate until this year when I heard about it. I feel like students really want to have their voices heard in how the budget is spent, the budget that they are providing for the student government and for the university. So by advertising more for the Senate and places to have their voices heard, I feel like the student body can really come together and let the university know how we want our money spent for things.
Yeah, everything Mason was saying is absolutely correct. And we just want to help students feel like they have a voice in what happens in government. So.
All right, go ahead, and Pauline and Maria-Les, I'll ask you the same question, just restate it. Besides COVID, what do you think the source of disconnect is between students and administration, and how do you guys plan to address that?
Sorry, could you repeat it one more time?
Yeah, of course. Besides COVID, what do you think is the source of disconnect between students and administration, and how do you plan to address that?
So I think a bigger problem is just that students do not know exactly who to go to when they have a problem. Who do I go to if I don't know how to resolve my issue? And I think a bigger part of our platform is to make these town hall meetings. So exactly how we are set up right now, I would like to have my SGA cabinet here with me and have it open to students to come and communicate problems that they don't know exactly what area or jurisdiction that goes to. If you have a problem, who do I go to and how fast can they help me with this problem? How are you going to reorganize that? And I think a bigger problem is not having our doors open. I know email is a great way to communicate, but I think face-to-face connection makes a bigger difference. You know, clear communications, direct dialogue, and no miscommunications.
All right, and Cody and Judy, besides COVID, what do you think is the source of disconnect between students and administration, and how do you plan to address that?
Hello, okay. I think the source of, you said miscommunication? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Disconnect.
Besides COVID, what do you think the source of disconnect is between students and administration?
Okay. I think the source of disconnect is a lot of miscommunication. I know last year there was a lot of policies being put in place that the student body didn't know about, so everybody was like on the edge and confused about what the university was doing. So the way that we plan to fix that is just being more transparent, and instead of just running as SGA, but running with the student body and allowing you guys to speak on issues and know what's going on so you're more informed.
Yeah, I think along that as well, like sort of this idea of having SGA more open and available to the student body. We sort of operate in an office in the back of the union, so it's a little hard to connect, like Maria-Les was saying. Email's a great way to do it, but that face-to-face connection is what really makes a difference. So just being open and available, being at different events, being at sport outings, just things like that to be able to best support our students.
All right, and then Judy and Cody, don't put the mic down quite yet. We've got another question for you here. You're going to start off this time. So what experiences make you guys qualified for the position of president and vice president?
Yeah, so I think I've served in SGA since I started on campus. I started as a student senator, being directly involved in the legislative process. Although we were cut short by COVID, we were able to pass a lot of big things that sort of really were able to reshape the budget as SGA sort of formed and reshaped itself then. I've served as vice president of student review, so really coming along students in the disciplinary process, parking appeals. If you had parking tickets anytime during 2020, 2021, I was probably the guy you connected with in that sense. And now as student body vice president, I'm just overseeing student senate and everything that they operate and do.
I've been on student senate since my second semester of freshman year, so I've been able to see how student senate is run and just the different ways that they can bring up issues on campus and work towards fixing it and actually giving the campus a voice, so yeah.
Great. All right, Pauline and Maria-Les, what experiences make you qualified for the position of president or vice president?
So this isn't the first time that I'm running for SGA president. I actually was SGA president in 8th grade, so it's a little different, but on campus specifically, I was an RA last year, which we weren't the most liked group on campus, but this year I'm the SRA in Noggle, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, face-to-face connection with residents. I also serve as the student representative for Residence Life to the Student Senate this year, so that gave me a lot of insight to how things work. But yeah.
Okay, and although I am a first-year student, I did try to get involved as much as I could on campus, from Student Senate to being then involved in the Student Engagement Council, and then dabbling in other clubs like Spanish Club and all other kinds of things. But I think what I mainly learned in Student Senate was how many problems and improvements that we can have on campus. And through those events, I got to talk to a lot of different people, from international students to transfer. And I really learned that your voices are not being heard, and I want to be the person to do that.
Great. Sam and Mason, same question goes to you guys. What experiences make you guys qualified for president or vice president?
So my experience is not quite like in the SGA specific type of realm, but I am very, very proud of my tenure as physics club president. Yeah, I heard a woo. Heck yeah. Yeah. So that has kind of been like, we're a really small club. And so a lot of running that is very boots on the ground. You actually have to talk to people to get word out about your events. You have to organize everything like yourself and, you know, me with my lovely leadership team. And so it's just been like, I really understand how hard it is to be like in a small club, and I want to change that. And that's part of why I'm running in the first place.
So I believe that I'm a good representative of the average student. So I am in a lot of different clubs, and I feel like I can represent a lot of different unique aspects. I'm on the Ultimate Frisbee team. I'm putting together a softball league. I'm in the choir and the musical theater productions. I feel like I can represent a lot of different unique perspectives, and I can bring attention to a lot of...
Great. All right. Well, we got the next question here. This one's going to go to Pauline and Mireles. We have, what does effective leadership look like to you guys? How does your faith impact your leadership? That goes to both of you.
So we answered this question a little bit in our application, but I think effective leadership really comes down to being open to feedback and having clear communication. We're always looking for ways to improve. We keep pretty direct feedback between each other, and just hearing from the students of how to better support them is always important. But if you're in a leadership position and you're not listening to the students and you're just very closed-minded on how you want to do things, that's not really going to work out. So not taking anything to heart, but just saying like, hey, this position is for the students, so I'm just going to do exactly what they need me to do. That's really the best way to do that.
And I think more for the relationship with God aspect of it, making sure that you know exactly your core values in your relationship with God. Like the whole idea of being a Christian is embodying Jesus's aspects and characteristics. So having discipline, being creative and adaptive in everything you do.
Fantastic. All right. Same question goes to you guys, Sam and Mason. What does effective leadership look like to you, and how does your faith impact that leadership?
So effective leadership is leading by example.
Okay, I can start. So for me, at least, leadership is finding a balance between standing up and taking charge and stepping down and meeting people where they're at. And to me, that lines up a lot with how faith comes into it, because God does much the same thing. Jesus did much the same thing. He told us how to live our lives, but he also came into people's homes and broke bread with people who were considered sinners by the establishment. And I just want to emulate that as much as I can in leadership and community. So,
Cody and Judy, what does effective leadership look like to you guys, and how does your faith impact your leadership?
So I think to Judy and I, effective leadership, I know we've all seen the picture of the leader being carried on the pedestal versus the leader who is actually on the ground doing the hard work with their team. So Judy and I, before we even become leaders on campus, I think first and foremost we're friends. So we really have the ability to sort of work and form that special relationship that you need to have within a team to be able to achieve your goals. Because if you're just sort of at the top barking down orders, you're not going to be able to do a lot and get a lot done. But being able to stick together and sort of have that foundational relationship is what really makes the team be able to roll well and be able to get things done and be able to continue to work through the hard stuff.
And just not leading by your own opinions and your own thoughts, but actually collaborating with those around you. But actually collaborating with those around you and listening to other people, because when you do that, you're able to learn from a different perspective that you didn't originally come in with. So that also helps with effective leading.
Great. And then, so this one also goes to you guys here. Where have you resembled characteristics, integrity, trust, and loyalty in your work or personal life?
Yeah, so I think integrity is probably one of the most important values, be it that I am already involved in SGA, I already serve as vice president. I sort of had to find the important balance between weighing my institutional knowledge of our organization and sort of the things that we can achieve in contrast to running for student body president. So being able to put a clear divide between my official duties and me as a candidate was something I really had to focus on and lean in heavily on throughout this campaigning season, and was really being able to have a clear defining line between in my official role as student body vice president currently, but then also contra that, serving as a candidate for student body president.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, it's a lot of words, isn't
Yeah.
it? Where have you resembled characteristics, integrity, trust, and loyalty in your work or personal life?
I guess in the different leadership roles that I have on campus, I am community organizer for BSU, so just being able to be a shoulder that people can lean on, and when organizing different events, knowing that I'll get the job done in time. Okay, time's up.
All right, that passes on to Pauline and Mireles. Same question. Where have you resembled characteristics, integrity, trust, and loyalty in your work or personal life?
I think anyone that knows me knows that I stay pretty true to my word. With integrity, a really easy example is being an RA during 2020. We were sort of tasked with enforcing all the COVID policies, and that also meant following them ourselves, which was hard at times, but never really left anywhere without a mask and still continue to do so.
Thank you. I think I mostly reflect that in my student engagement council. So we're in charge of a lot of the events that go on, like the What's Your Take table, the student game. So making sure that I am going to all the meetings, communicating with my fellow officers, but more than that, also going to set up and tear down at these events. So being able to follow through with all your words. And then also as an education major, your role as a teacher is foundational with your students. Different internships and different student teaching opportunities have led me into those positions where you have to build your reputation wherever you go. And one mistake can just blow that all away. So keeping that in the back of your mind.
Sam and Mason, where have you guys resembled characteristics, integrity, and trust and loyalty in your work or personal life?
So throughout my time at Messiah, I've been a part of a lot of theatrical productions. And recently I was the lead role in the show of Much Ado About Nothing. So taking on a lead role is a huge responsibility, and you have to gain the trust of all of those around you while also balancing the workload that school gives you. So just being able to take the trust of my fellow actors and being able to work together to put on an amazing show is kind of what I want to do in SGA, is to have everyone work together to put something amazing together.
So I like to think that the people who know me would say that if I say that I'm going to do something, I will stick to it, whatever that cost may be. And honestly, for a specific example, this campaign, like this past week, has been a solid example of me committing to something, committing to a view, and sticking to it, and having integrity in that.
All right, and then Sam and Mason, this next one here goes to you. What does it look like to be equally supportive of all clubs and organizations?
So, equally supportive of all clubs and organizations. There's a lot of clubs on campus that are into very niche subjects that a lot of people in the current SGA wouldn't value. So what we want to see is more of the budget redistributed to some of the smaller clubs. There's a lot of clubs right now that have massive spending that they don't use every single semester. So by having the SGA acknowledge some smaller clubs, we can see more equality in representation in clubs.
So I already told y'all that I'm running the physics club, which is pretty small, but beautiful nonetheless. And I think that by allocating more funds to smaller clubs like the physics club, that means that there will be more events on campus and more fun things to do on the weekend. And so, giving more voice to smaller clubs is better for the campus.
Great. Pauline and Mireles, tell me, what does it look like to be equally supportive of all clubs and organizations?
So equally is a harder word to use. I think each club needs a different level of support. So first off is asking each club what exactly they need from us, that we know we're meeting them to the best. If we're giving each club the same level, that might not be enough for everyone. Another thing we want to do is add more collaborative events between clubs, especially the smaller clubs. As Sam was saying, it's hard to get advertisements out there when you're a smaller club, so maybe pairing up with a larger club and doing more collaborative events.
And I think through that, we were talking about the bigger clubs maybe creating a position of a liaison student who would take on the duty of handling solely collaborative events. So MCC is a very big club. They need people solely responsible of collaborating with other clubs so they can make sure that every duty is being filled. The whole idea of it being equal is the matter that each club is getting both the attention and their needs met. For that to be done, there needs to be a specific person that is quantifying what that looks like and what needs to be met and meeting with us. And that should be a position in and of itself.
And Cody and Judy, can you tell me, guys, what does it look like to be equally supportive of all clubs and organizations?
So I think the word that best fits instead of equal is equitable. So like Pauline was saying, all of our clubs have unique needs on campus. So be it working with our charter clubs to help them find ways to appropriately use their budget they're given from SGA, or working with their recognized clubs on campus to partner them with off-campus businesses to help streamline the fundraising process. Because as it stands now, we sort of just expect these students in these recognized organizations to know how to reach out to businesses, how to work with the marketing office, sort of allow these fundraisers to happen. So working internally to set up some sort of support system to come alongside our clubs that provide them the level of support they need, both from on the executive level all the way down to chartered and our recognized clubs on campus.
And being better at communicating with the other clubs on campus as well and asking them what they need instead of just assuming what they need.
Great, and this is the last of our general questions for tonight is, with this theme of reconciliation, it is obviously not a one-time thing. How do you guys plan on continuing this in the upcoming school year? Judy and Cody, you guys can take this one first.
So I think the theme of reconciliation is important to realize. I think like Pauline and Mila said, it's way more than just reconciliation on one single linear level. It sort of expands across all areas of campus, some that we see, some that we don't see. So really, I think once again, it's just creating that seat at the table for all students to be able to come into the office and sort of express concerns or things that they want to see changed or praises that they have for the institution, or being able to find GDI or any of the cabinet or anyone involved in SGA to be able to express things that they want to see change that can really impact both their experience on campus as well as the experience of their individual community as well as the campus community as an entire organization and body.
And just to be able to create a healthier environment on campus where people from all different walks of life and communities feel like they can engage and talk with each other and just solve problems without like fighting, but actually listening to one another and learning what makes everybody unique and important at Messiah.
Pauline and Mireles, what does it look like, with this theme of reconciliation? It is obviously not a one-time thing. How do you guys plan on continuing this in the upcoming school year?
Yeah, so that's basically our whole platform. But one thing that is super important is continuing to have these collaborative events. I've been to so many events where different groups talked about concerns that they had that I wasn't a part of those groups. They really opened my eyes to like, oh wow, like I didn't even know that was happening to you. And so when that sort of thing comes up, there's two areas where you can sort of tackle. You can tackle it on more of a policy level, which in SGA we'll have the ability to do, but also just as a student, like thinking about how do my actions affect this group? Maybe I'm doing stuff that I didn't even know was harmful, and now I can course correct and make this a better place for them as well.
I think also using that label to not just justify reconciliation on campus, but to our community as well. Like, everybody has been so disconnected because of COVID, and I think reaching back out to communities that are close to us, like Mechanicsburg and Harrisburg, and having us support local mom and pop shop and having them come in and collaborate with us. Messiah is really community oriented, and it's important that we keep that as a factor.
And Sam and Mason, you guys are going to close this question out here with this theme of reconciliation. It is obviously not a one-time thing. How do you guys plan on continuing this in the upcoming school year?
So Messiah has done some great things to reconcile the students, like the dances, and honestly, I feel so close to the student body when I'm at those dances, but there's people that don't get the same effect. There's some people that don't feel comfortable going out to dances. So maybe some more low-key mixer events, like the freshman mixer event where everyone was able to just talk and gather around. There's not something that intimidating for the student body. Just something more inclusive that all the students can participate in, as well as the dances.
We want to cultivate a culture on campus. Ooh, alliteration. But we want to cultivate a culture on campus where people feel like they can be safe and that they are allowed to live their lives. And so we want to do that by bringing the multicultural clubs more into the decision-making fold. We want to support everyone on campus, no matter who they are.
Well, there you have it, folks. Yeah, we're going to hit a break right here. Go ahead and check out the snack bar over there. The buffalo chicken dips is really good. But for now, I'm going to hand over the mic to Emily here, and we'll go ahead and take a break. All right, we're back again. We got some good questions for our wonderful candidates up here. Before we get to the specific questions from you guys, we're going to go ahead and do some questions specifically that we created for the candidates here on stage. So we'll go ahead and start off here with Cody and Judy. We'll go right to left this time to start off. So Cody and Judy, this one is specifically for both of you. There is a misalignment between Messiah organizations and the student body, and we see that in the low engagement of programs and events thrown by clubs, but also the feedback received from students. How would you plan to address this issue?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, our goal is to just really, once again, just bring back what Messiah was post-COVID. So what it looked like to have massive students in Hitchcock Arena for the Whiteout basketball game, or what it looked like this year really looked good for the Whiteout March, but just overall engagement, events on campus that engage students from across different classes that sort of bring us together to unite us in this institution that we all love, that we all attend. So just really bringing us up together, allowing us to come together, taking feedback on what students like, what students don't like, how we can make it better for the next year and for years to come that really can affect our students on campus.
Wait, can you say the question again?
Yeah, it's a long one. There is a misalignment between Messiah organizations and the student body, and we see that in the low engagement of programs and events thrown by clubs, but also from the feedback received from students. How would you guys plan to address this issue?
That's a good question. I guess by being able to provide the student body with more resources that they can feel like they can. The question is going through one ear.
How we can support clubs and organizations and disengage the student body.
How about I'll give you another one here, Judy. Judy, this one's specifically for you. How will your background in social work inform your actions as a vice president?
Okay. Okay. So I am a social work major, and I love it because social work is all about being able to use resources to help those who are underprivileged or underrepresented and actually allowing them to speak and have a voice and not speaking for them. So
yeah, just how will your background in
so
social
I
work
think
inform your actions?
Having that as my major has allowed me to grow in the way that I communicate with people, in the way that I listen to people, in the way that I take what they say and actually work towards putting it into action. Yeah, I feel like I've become a more well-rounded person who actually cares about what people have to say and how to go about making life better for them. Yeah, that's it.
Cody, what are you hoping to accomplish by running for student vice president or student president that you were unable to accomplish by being student body vice president?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it just comes into, once again, just how SGA can be financially responsible and fiscally responsible to the student body who pays the student activity fee every single semester, $125, how we can use that fee to, one, support the organizations and the programming that we as SGA fund, but also how we can respect our students by not using that fee to offset a deficit that SGA may run every year. It's no surprise that enrollment is down at Messiah, just as it is across institutions across the country. So with the smaller class coming in year after year, that means we're going to have less money to allocate to our clubs and organizations. So really working to figure out how we can rework our internal financial structures and internal financial policies to, one, still support and allow our clubs to be successful on campus, but two, allow that success and all the good things that come out of it, allow that to be felt across campus while not putting a burden on the pocketbooks of you as an individual student who's paying on it, having to take a larger loan, having to put that weight off on your students, so not allowing an SGA budget deficit to be weighed on the student body.
And this one's for both of you guys. Why did you choose to become a running pair?
Oh, okay. We chose to become a running pair because I've known Cody for a while, so I feel like we have good chemistry when it comes to knowing what each other wants to do for the school and how to go about doing it and just communicating.
Yeah, so me and Judy have been thinking about running together as a pair since our sophomore years on campus. It was an idea that we had. I would have run with Judy if Matt had not approached me to run as his vice president, but we're both grateful for the opportunities that we've been able to fill. So just, once again, I think that the foundation of what we're doing together is based on who we are as individuals and who we are together as a team. And we really, we both work in admissions. We care deeply about this school. You probably see us giving tours day in and day out. We really want to bring students to Messiah, and we really want to impact them, but we also have a desire to serve and impact the students who are here now and the students who will be here in the future.
And we've also served on many leadership roles together as well, so we know how each other works.
And these next questions here are going to be for Miralez and Pauline. This is a question that goes out to both of you guys here. Your platform emphasizes caring for students and fostering belonging. What does that look like for you, and what does it look like for SGA and the administration to deeply care about its students?
So a big way that we can accomplish this is by reaching out to the student groups that we're not a part of and asking them what areas of support they need. We've already been approached by a lot of different students, especially student athletes have been asking about possibly doing a Sunday morning chapel as their schedules throughout the week are really busy. Students have big course loads. They're trying to balance sports as well. A lot of them tend to use the Tuesday, Thursday morning chapels to do homework. And so having that Sunday morning chapel would be easier for them to get up in the morning, still meet their chapel requirement, but feel like they have enough time during the week. So this is something, I'm not a student athlete, I wouldn't have known that before, but being able to reach out to other student groups and hearing what they need, that's something that we could possibly do.
Should I talk about fine line? Fine line? Okay, so I think a bigger part of it is the collaboration with the community we already have here. If any of you have seen the Instagram post, we've talked about making a program called How to Read the Fine Print. And so I know a lot of us take out big loans, and we need to learn how to cope with the idea of taking out the loans or the stress that comes along with it. A lot of us work maybe 2 jobs to pay for where we're at right now. And so I think creating a space where we can talk about how we need to learn how to cope with that stress, how we need to have people come in from the community to talk about loan forgiveness programs. I don't know about you, but as an education major, I just recently learned that my debt can be paid off if I work at a school for 5 years. But if I didn't talk to other students, I wouldn't have known that. So creating spaces where students who are coming from that income where you're struggling to meet ends meet can talk about their situation. More importantly, learn how finances work. How does loans affect your credit? How will that affect you in the future? So I think realistically, having people come in and talk about that from past experience.
And Mirella, this one is for you here. Do you believe being a rising sophomore to be a challenge? And if so, how do you plan to overcome that?
Excuse me, I didn't hear your first part.
Yeah. Do you view that being a rising sophomore is a challenge? And if so, how do you plan to overcome that?
Okay, so each semester I've been here, I've taken 18 credits. And that alone has been a challenge in itself. But I think because of my first year experience in learning how to juggle my caseload, how to juggle both a social life and my classwork, because as a Martin Scholar, I also have to maintain a certain GPA. So this first year has basically set the foundation of how I'm supposed to cope with that next year. So I believe that because I've set such a high standard for myself each and every year, I'm going to make that. So not thinking of VP and its requirements in the job description so much as baggage or a job, but more of it thinking of it more as how can I help this community and how is that going to help me in the long run. I have a sister coming in the fall semester, so the idea of me helping her set up her future here at Messiah also keeps me driving. Like, who am I going to help next year by taking this position?
And Pauline, this one goes to you here. How does your experience and lessons learned as an RA prepare you to lead and advocate for the student body?
Yeah, so as an RA, I have a pretty diverse floor of people from all over the spectrum: homeschool, public school, private school. Some people who are really traditional Christian, some people who are still exploring their faith, don't really yet know what's going on. So that's helped me a lot in just navigating difficult conversations with people who have extremely opposing beliefs, especially last year being 2020 with the presidential election, navigating tensions on the floor. So I feel like that's just given me a lot of practice in communicating with people, keeping a cool head, and really seeking for that understanding. While I may not agree with what everyone else thinks, at least being able to still understand why they took that position and respect them as a human being is a skill that I really value, and that's come directly from being an RA.
And now this one goes to both of you here. You guys have both mentioned the importance of reaching out to smaller student groups here on campus and that feel like their voice hasn't been heard. So just name one of these groups and just how you plan to help with that.
We were recently invited to go to an event with MCC. MCC has all the clubs, and they were basically just shouting out suggestions, things that they want to do next, asking us things that they want to see from us as candidates. One thing that was brought up was troubles that international students have been having, especially when it comes to filling out taxes, because things are different for them in the US, and what next steps are post-graduation. There's a bit of a gray area in what legally it looks like for them to navigate. And so these are areas that I really had no experience with. Like, they were bringing this up, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know any of that was happening, but that's definitely something that we're looking into. We're seeing of our how to read the fine print, adding in a section specifically for international students so that they get a better understanding of, okay, this is what it's going to look like these next couple of years, whether that be at Messiah or a different university.
And I think another group, and although they may not be a small group, is the commuter group. I've talked to several students on campus, and their main concern is inclusivity, mainly with knowing other commuters as well as in-campus events. So I know a lot of our campus events are during the evening, and some of our students are maybe an hour drive, and that's a little too much for them. So maybe creating a different time slot for them to also be involved in school, because as commuters, they're making the effort to be at the school, so we should make the adjustment for them to also be involved.
Great. And then Sam and Mason, these ones are specifically for you here. This one goes to both of you guys. One of the things you guys proposed is the increase of funding for clubs so they could have larger clubs and events like we talked about earlier. One of the things that clubs and club leaders are struggling with is to get engagement from the student body, as they would often love to have bigger turnouts. How will you support both sides of this conversation more than just through money?
Okay. So, in case y'all hadn't heard, I'm in charge of the physics club. And sometimes it is hard for us to get turnout to our events, partially because, we are so small and we have so few resources. We have a lot of big ideas, but we don't have, the ability to pull them off in the way that we want to. And part of that is, money going to the event itself. Part of that is money going to advertising. So that's why Mason and I think we should reallocate more of these funds towards these smaller clubs. And having better events will boost engagement. having more things to do on the weekends will boost engagement. So that's my answer.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, there are a lot of very niche clubs on campus that SGA doesn't really acknowledge. I just came from chess club where we have, it's a very small but very dedicated group of members who come every single week to chess club. And just having events, by giving more of the budget to events, the activities fair is great. It's great for getting your email out to the clubs, but what really gets people to fall in love with the club is going to events. There was just an amazing physics club event that had really great where there was a debate between philosophy, science, chemistry, and religion, all debating ethics of religion, and that was really interesting. So it's these events that are really getting people to come out and check out clubs. So, yeah.
And then Sam, this question goes to you here. You mentioned you mentioned the word relational and how you hope your administration will be. Can you expand on that, please?
So one of the reasons I was even thinking about going for SGA president in the first place is because I really like talking to people and learning about other people's experiences and building relationships with them. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about leadership with meeting people where they're at. And goodness, there's so many tangents I could go off on right now. But if I were to be elected, I want my administration, my career to be defined by my relationships with other people. I want my life to sort of be made good by my relationships with other people and my relationship with God. And so that's kind of why I want to facilitate so much of this connection. That's why this theme is so pervasive in all of the stances that I take. So.
Great. Mason, what will you do to help students suffering from burnout? What measures are you going to take to prevent future burnout?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What will you do to help students suffering from burnout, and what measures will you take to prevent future burnout?
Okay, so burnout is a serious problem that a lot of college students face. I'm pretty sure every person in this room has just felt completely and utterly overwhelmed by teachers assigning major projects all on the same day. So one thing that we tossed around that I would love to see implemented is a universal calendar in where teachers are putting all of their assignments and large projects on one space. So when teachers are able to look and see if any of their students have large contrasting commitments to other classes. I had an essay, a project, and I also have I have 2 exams coming up on Friday, and I've been completely overwhelmed by all this work. By at least trying to help reduce the amount of stress that a student can be put under when teachers are planning when to have their exams, I think burnout can be significantly decreased.
Great. And then the final question I have for the pair of you guys is, if elected, you guys will be new to SGA and executive leadership. How do you think coming into the presidency with fresh eyes will help you guys tackle and represent the problems in the student body?
So, yeah, fresh eyes. I think because we're kind of jumping into this we're not already in it. It's going to help us have a better understanding of what the general student population wants, because we are closer to that. We have been in it, for lack of a better word, the muck, for a longer period of time. And we have understanding, Mason and I both have understanding of smaller clubs. As we have said, we have understanding of how putting on events goes. We understand a lot of things because we are new. And we have that passion because we're coming straight from experiencing these things ourselves. So.
Sure, yeah. And so that covers our specific questions that we had for the candidates. Now we're going to go to your questions that you guys submitted online. So I've got.
Can I talk on?
Oh, of course. Yes. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes, it's a long one. If elected, you guys will be new to executive leadership in SGA. How do you think coming into the presidency with fresh eyes will help you tackle and represent problems of the student body?
Yeah. So my experience with the student body is that a lot of people are currently unhappy about how a lot of the spending is done on campus. Personally, when I was going around talking to people about what they wanted to see in change, a lot of people said that they want to have a bigger voice in how things are spent. The fireplace that was just put outside, I know a lot of people were upset when there's not even microwaves on every single floor. So since I'm coming at this in fresh eyes, I've been more involved in, like how Sam said, I've been more involved in exactly what the student body wants, and I think I can do a great job of properly representing what the student body wants to see changed in government.
Thank you, Mason. All right. Like I said earlier, let's get to your questions now. Cool. All right. So this one goes to Cody and Judy here. Will clubs get funding based on student population or interest, or strictly like based on those in charge?
So I think the idea that Judy and I have is having funded allocated based off of overall engagement that our charter clubs see on campus. So let's say we have an organization that sees engagement that is dealing with 50 to 60 to 70 students that are coming to their events. That's a club on campus that is in need of more funding because they're reaching a broader portion of our campus population. Well, that's not saying that our clubs on campus that support a smaller group on campus are not important, but they're able to operate because they have a smaller population. They're able to fulfill their mission and serve the students in the organization well with a smaller amount of funds. So I think what really comes down is how we can best equitably distribute the funds across campus to engage the most students. So like I said before, if that engagement means that we have lots of students in one club and we have, let's say, 10 to 15 students at another club, they don't need the same amount of funding. They need funding that's equitable to what they're trying to achieve and the students are trying to reach on campus.
Basically, going off of what Cody said, listening to the... Okay.
Fair enough. All right, Pauline, we'll pass this one next to you here. This is from the audience. Can you talk about your thoughts on a new chapel policy and setup? You kind of talked a little bit about that earlier, but I think we're dying to hear a little bit more about it. So.
Yeah, so this idea was sort of brought up, and we're still trying to tinker with how exactly this would work. But maybe offering a Sunday morning chapel. I think we just had one recently. And this chapel would be really great for students who have busy course loads, student athletes, also students who are having a hard time finding a home church in around the Mechanicsburg area. Maybe you're not from around this area, and it'd be nice to just go to a place where you can still get your spiritual formation and fellowship here on campus. I don't want to say too much about will this affect how many chapels you need to get each semester, because there's still a lot of details that need to be worked out. But this is just the initial idea that we're still exploring.
Yeah, okay. So this one goes out to Cody and Judy right here. What is your stance, kind of asking sort of the same thing. What is your stance on the current allocations of funds for executive clubs, such as like SAB, SGA, etc.?
Yeah, so I can start us off with this one. I feel, as it stands now, the executive organizations receive a large portion of the student budget, and a lot of that money oftentimes goes unspent. So working well within the leadership council, which is the leaders of all those executive clubs, to figure out what is the minimum amount of funds that you need to be successful and to be able to keep the level of engagement that you have now, so that we can support those 44 to 45 other charter organizations on campus that really need the funding, that have events that are reaching a broad campus population, so that we can, one, ensure the success of our executive organizations, be it MCC with International Gala, or having dances in the union with CSA or with LAL or with BSU, things like that, ensuring that they are successful, but at the same time that our charter clubs, be it the Games Association that's meeting up in the glass conference room, or be it other organizations that meet across Boyer, those are the ones that come to mind that really need that increase of funding.
And also using the funding that, as Cody said, some clubs don't use all their funding. I'm speaking based on MCC. I know that MCC, they share one room for all clubs to have their events, and it gets kind of hectic trying to figure out when you're going to have your club, what day you're going to have your club. So just using that money to help them find more places on campus where they can have club meetings and, yeah, spread.
Yeah, and then this next one here goes to Sam Mason from the audience. What are some concrete plans that you have for improving life on campus?
So, like what we just said, there's a large portion of some of the school's budget that isn't spent. So an idea that we had was, sorry, by sanctioning a small portion of that, we can put it into some sort of student elected fund. So let's say that we sanctioned off like $1,000, and then the student body would be able to vote on what that money is spent on. Nobody knows what needs to be fixed on this campus better than the students. So by letting the students directly vote on how some of the money should be spent, not only are we giving the student body a greater voice in how their money is directly spent, but we're going to see just quality of life improvements all around campus.
Heck yeah. So, yeah, all that Mason just said, I agree with. We want to, okay, all right, yeah, good job.
Fair enough. All right, this one goes to Cody and Judy. What is one of your weaknesses, and how have you worked to grow? This one, you guys can both individually answer, of course, so.
I guess one of my weaknesses would be, okay. I guess one of my weaknesses would be time. I'm not the best with time, but I'm learning to get better. This year I've started using Outlook and putting everything that I have to do on Outlook so I know when to do it, when it's due. So getting better at navigating college life and being able to have certain days for certain things.
Yeah, I would say one of my weaknesses that I've been trying to get better at is just when I lock my eyes on a target, I'm sort of dead set on that's the only way that we can go. It's sort of my way or the highway. But really within my role, both as a college student and sort of balancing what it means to be a leader on campus, I've really learned what it means to allow other peers to be influential to me, to speak into my life, to speak into my decision making, and really be a part of what it means to have a voice on campus. I may be in this role, but that doesn't mean that it's just me making decisions. I have friends and classmates that are really beneficial, that can really speak into what I have to say, can speak into my voice that I can sort of broadcast across campus.
Great, and this one is going to be for everybody here upstage. We'll go and start down here with Sam and Mason here. Will you guys be vocal about the current socio-political issues that mainstream student culture on campus doesn't care to reconcile at all?
Socio-political, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, this was one from the audience here. Will you be vocal about the socialist current? Who wrote this, man?
You're good, man.
Will you
You're
be
good.
vocal about the current socio-political issues that mainstream students and culture on campus doesn't care to reconcile?
Doesn't care to reconcile. I mean, there are some things that are controversial. I'm going to assume this is kind of in reference to things like what was going on with some recent chapel speakers, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to run with that. Some things are like, yes, I am going to be vocal about what I believe is right. And I believe, taking a firm stance on social issues is right. I do believe in listening to everyone's opinions and making sure that everyone has a voice and taking everyone's opinions into consideration. But me personally, I will be vocal about social and political things that I care about.
Yeah, and our campaign is based off us being vocal about where we stand. Right on our Instagram, we come out right saying that we support the LGBTQ community and we want them to have a bigger representation in just the Messiah community in general. We talked with people in MCC. We want to just have all different viewpoints to come together to just make the student body as inclusive as possible.
All right, we'll pass this one off to you guys, Pauline and Mireles. Will you guys be vocal about the current socio-political issues that mainstream student culture on campus doesn't care to reconcile?
Short answer, yes. I think the only way to really move forward, this is one thing, like, as RAs, we go through this training, and we talk about, like, the 4 stages of forming a community. A really crucial stage is storming, and that's not a fun place for anyone to be, but you gotta get through storming to go to forming, or well, the better part. But, so it's gonna be tough. Some people are gonna be uncomfortable, but we really do have to just face it head on and just treat each other with respect and make it through. We can't just keep sweeping things under the rug. That's not gonna help anyone.
And I think the main part of that question is you said the main campus. And I believe that in my position as VP, I'm supposed to be vocal for those who feel underrepresented. So in matters of a majority of our campus might not agree with whatever problem we're addressing, but for those who are the least and lost, I feel like I have to represent that just because nobody else will do that.
And then Cody and Judy, I'll pass this one off to you again. Will you guys be vocal about the current socio-political issues that mainstream student culture on campus doesn't care to reconcile?
Short answer is yes. I am someone who is very passionate about social justice and just being able to make everybody feel like they are welcomed and loved, especially on a Christian campus such as Messiah. I want everyone who goes here to feel like they are being heard. These chapels provide us with education on things that maybe we didn't learn in school or we didn't learn from the different backgrounds that we came from. So it's not like they're just being put on to be put on, but they're actually educating us on the different people that we don't know about, people who come from different backgrounds, whether it be racial, whether it be ethnical, whether it be like sexuality or anything like that. Like, it gives you information that you never had before, and it allows you to expand your education and spread the love of God by learning about those who make Messiah what Messiah is. And I'm always gonna fight for people who are underrepresented. I'm always gonna fight for people who feel like they aren't heard because they deserve to have a voice and they deserve to be seen.
Yeah, I think like the rest of the candidate pair, short answer, yes. I think within these roles, it's our job to represent all students on campus, regardless of their belief, regardless of who they identify with. I think Judy sort of sums up what our goals are to do, and that is to be an advocate for everyone, regardless of your views, your stance, who you identify with, the religion you go to, the church you go to, things like that. We're here for you. Even though we may disagree with you, it's still important that we're a shoulder that you can lean on, someone that you can talk to, and just overall here to support you in your desires, your dreams, and your pursuits in life.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So our next one here, this one goes to everybody on stage. We'll start with you guys. Students have been upset about current spending policies. What makes your platform different than the status quo?
So I'm going to assume that this is sort of within SGA, because that is sort of the budget that, as student body president and vice president, that we will be directly overseeing. I think what sets us apart is that Judy and I understand the importance of that budget and how it plays into all levels of our organizations, from our executive charter to our recognized clubs on campus. And we have the institutional knowledge to go forth and make the best changes that can affect the broadest number of students on campus. And our goals aren't to go out there and jack up the price of the student activity fee, but our goal is to go out there and find resources and be a connection point to get you plugged in with local businesses. You've seen we've had Duck Donuts on campus. I have paid very minimal for 12 dozen donuts because I was able to go out and make connections. So applying that to all our clubs on campus to give them an avenue in which they can pursue funds on their own.
All right, Pauline and Mireles, tell us, students have been upset about the current spending policies. What makes your platform different than the status quo?
One of the things that we talked about is installing more community town halls. I think a lot of students wouldn't feel as upset if they just knew where their dollars were going. I know they're in the Swinging Bridge, a couple issues back, they had an article that basically laid out, like, okay, for my one Messiah dollar in the bill, this is how it gets broken down. And that was really informational, just seeing, oh, okay, like, student activities fees goes, oh, that goes to the clubs. Okay, I feel a little bit better about that 125. I do really like those SAB events. So just really being more transparent about where the dollars are going, I think that's gonna go a long way in repairing that relationship with the student body.
And I think a bigger part of it as well, I know I'm part of the Poland trip that's going through the Agape Center, and a large part of that is being able to fundraise your account. So I think some of our clubs and some of our students forget that you can go out and you can do your own fundraising. Like, a bigger part of it is you taking initiative if you feel like your dollars are not being spent wisely. Like, the whole idea of SGA is to be your advocate. So if you have a problem with where your money is going, we have different varieties and people who are assigned to talk to you about that.
Sam and Mason, students have been upset about current spending policies. What makes your platform different than the status quo?
So what makes our platform different than the status quo is that we have actual concrete plans on what we want to see changed. We're not just saying we want to see change. We're talking about how we want to sanction parts of the budget in order to put it into a fund that the students can use to vote on what they want to see. We have actual things that we want to see changed. And another thing that a lot of people have noticed is that there's not a lot of quality of life changes that are happening for the student body. Messiah spends a lot of money making it a really welcoming place for the Welcoming Students Day. And then we don't see a lot of stuff that Messiah is doing to keep students here once they've already registered. So we want to use more of the budget for quality of life changes, like I said earlier, microwaves on every single floor and more hot water in the buildings where people need hot water. So, yes, what makes us different is that we have actual concrete plans and what we want to see changed.
Yeah, y'all can applaud that. We want concrete thing. We have concrete ideas for what we want changed.
People like their microwave popcorn, I guess. All right. This one goes out to everybody once again. How will you support students who feel targeted by their peers on campus for really any number of reasons? We'll send that to Sam and Mason so you guys finish that last one.
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely,
Sorry.
yeah. I'm a little quiet right now. I'm not sure why. How will you support students who feel targeted by their peers on campus for really any number of reasons?
So I'm going to, tell a story and give an example of this. So obviously one of our stances is that we as a campaign support the LGBTQ campus community and so on and so forth. And since taking that stance, I have personally received a lot of harassment, people just walking up to me and saying some weird out-of-pocket things. And while that has given me more drive to stand up for people, it's also helped me come to understand more what LGBTQ people on campus go through every day. And so this is an example of just how one area in which I want to support people is by lifting them up, meeting them where they're at, and actively advocating for them.
We'll pass the same question on to you guys here, Pauline and Mireles. How will you support students who feel targeted by their peers on campus for really any number of reasons?
I feel like Messiah already has a couple of support systems in place. The real problem is just getting that message out there so that students know, hey, I just had this really weird experience happen to me. Who do I go to with this? I think that's a question students get stuck at, and then they don't know who to go to, and the problem sort of continues. So really making it very clear, okay, you can go to this person for this problem, or you can go to that person for this problem, or hey, maybe you don't even know who to go to, but at least I can talk to Paulina Morales and they'll point me in the right direction. So just making sure that students are aware of the support systems that are already built in, and if there's an issue where there's not a support system built in, then creating that for students.
I think another part of that is also making sure that students recognize that every staff member on campus is first and foremost here to advocate for your needs. If we were not here, they would not be here in the first place. They're here to meet which demands that you have, and also emphasizing that Messiah does a great job of making sure that counseling is free. Anybody can go to counseling, or a person like Hannah McBride. Her door is always open.
And then Cody and Judy, we'll ask you guys the same thing. How will your support students who feel targeted by their peers on campus for any number of reasons?
Similar to what Pauline said, but just creating more support groups for different groups of people on campus. I know I've been here for 3 years, and it's been a journey. I love Messiah, but it's been a journey. And I've been able to feel supported by MCC. I've been able to talk about my problems and vocalize the things that have been bothering me through MCC. So just having groups where there's familiar faces, whether it be, once again, like racially, ethnically, anything that you feel like you are being targeted on campus about, whether it be your religion, just having people who have been through those same circumstances and providing them with a safe space where all of you can vocalize your feelings and feel like someone is hearing you and someone is seeing you and someone can actually try to help and make a change to the way the campus views you, or whether it be, I know you guys hate this, but like chapel, and having like more informational chapels and just being able to like actually listen and get the different information about different people out to the crowd and just being more respectful.
I think first and foremost acknowledging that I don't identify the same as everyone else, so making efforts to be able to know what the issues they're dealing with, so that way I can be a support system, either to come to directly or to direct them in the direction of either, like Marilla said, going to Hannah McBride or connecting with the Ingle Center or connecting with one of the Men of Color Kickback group or the Women of Color support groups on campus, different things like that that plug our students into where they can best be supported.
Great, and this one is a good one to close off with for the evening. What is the mission of SGA? Pauline, Miralez, we'll start with you guys, and then we'll go our way around to Cody and Judy, and we'll close out with Sam and Mason. What is the mission of SGA?
So I see SGA as the bridge between the student body and the administration. I think it's really important that SGA is a student-led organization. It really is a chance for us as students to lead the charge in pushing Messiah to continuously improve itself year after year.
And I think I've said this before, but college is about making the best version of yourself. And so SGA is part of that advocacy for students to emphasize what part of themselves they want to better. And so us as the bridge, as you say, are meant to be like the ear for the administration, for the students. So you talk to us so we can talk to them. There's a sort of finesse to it. And so the message that you want to get out to them, we convert that to them so that the job can get done. So while you finish college, you can be the best version of yourself.
Cody and Judy, what is the mission of SGA?
As a social worker, I love community, so I'm gonna go based on community. SGA stands for student government, so essentially we are here for the students, and we are here to listen to what you guys need and the change that you want to see in this school. Once again, we pay tuition, we go here, so if we are paying all this money, we should be able to feel like we have a voice in how the school is run or different policies that make the school what it is. So yeah, just to support you guys and help you be the best Messiah student you can be.
Yeah, so aside from the support it provides to the individual students, like you can see the logo is right there on the QR code. It's the bridge, but it's also the individuals that make up that community. So coming alongside and being able to connect our students with the resources and the individuals that they need to be successful, to have their voice heard, to make the changes they want to see made, but also being able to form that community, be it individually as students, as a student body, are coming alongside our clubs and organizations and really pushing them to be the best they can be, to form their leaders, to make lifelong changes, to connect them with students across campus, and to make meaningful impacts in the lives of students. All you students sitting in here, everyone sitting at the top of the union, all students watching this recorded, SGA is here for you.
Sam and Mason, what is the mission of SGA?
So, like Pauline says, the mission of SGA is to sort of be like the connection, the bridge between the student body and the administration. And I endorse that. I think it's really cool that this is an organization that we have and that, like, we are able to participate in as students. And I think, like, for me, it also goes back to, like, the leadership question early on in the program. Like, finding the balance between stepping up and being in charge and stepping down and being a servant. So that's what I have to say.
Again, I love the imagery of SGA being the bridge between the student body and the administration. But what we need to do is make sure everyone knows where that bridge is so they're going to be able to cross it. Did anyone even really know that Student Senate meets in the Kim Phipps building? I always just assumed that they met in the student government's room. There needs to be a way so everyone is able to get their voice heard. And that's the job of SGA, is to hear everyone, and SGA can't hear everyone if not every voice is being heard.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, these are your SGA student presidential and vice presidential candidates. Thank you.